The big landslide win of Agnes Kavindu of the Wiper Party in the Machakos senatorial by-election is a confirmation of what is unfolding in our country at the moment. It is now very clear that the whole idea is to reduce the influence of Raila Odinga in Kenyan politics as much as possible. And this is being done by presenting the perception to the people of Kenya that indeed tribal kingpins are extremely powerful. In other words, the more influential tribal kingpins are right across the country, the less powerful Raila Odinga will be right across the country, because these tribal kingpins can overrule Raila Odinga. That is emerging very clearly as the strategy of the intelligence community. Very smart. However, as to whether it will work on a man called Raila Odinga, that is another matter. And we'll come to that shortly and look at it very deeply. But first, the news that has left East Africa and beyond still reeling with shock. The passing on of Tanzanian President John Pombe Magufuli in circumstances that have now been investigating thoroughly for weeks. I started off when this Tanzanian president vanished from public sight. And I have just concluded it, I believe yesterday. And what I have for you, is a super fascinating report, which is contained in my latest weekly intelligence briefing, number 52. Expect it shortly in your inboxes. Now, I also need to address something else. There's been mounting criticism from you, my dear subscribers, that I'm increasingly shifting the juiciest stuff to my weekly intelligence briefings. Now, let's be honest with ourselves. Things have changed a lot. There are so many things that I can no longer say on this forum. Most of us are aware of videos being removed, channels being banned, deleted completely. And so, it goes without saying that I have to be careful to survive on this forum, where most of you access my videos. I hope mumenielewa. Ni kubaya jo. Wasema kweli wako hatarini. Dunia ya sasa haitaki ukweli. But what I can promise you is that I'm trying my very best and will try even harder to give you a lot of value on this free forum. And sometimes you will need to read between the lines. And that is why I highly recommend, if you're able, you subscribe to my weekly intelligence briefings, where things are made clear. Now, in my latest WIB, I answer some critical questions that are on your minds right now. What really happened to JPM in Tanzania? What are the circumstances that led to it? What are the political implications going forward? A super fascinating report. And if you're not a subscriber, you can take advantage of my latest special offer, which I've extended. It is very affordable. And what's more, you'll be able to get all the videos you've missed in the past, some of which build up to this latest WIB. I highly recommend it. Right, let's get back to business. The work of an intelligence outfit in Africa is to protect the president. It is to protect the political establishment from threats, mostly political threats. What that means is that if you're an individual in Kenya with a lot of political influence, capable of upsetting the apple cart, interfering with the current political setup, then you become a threat to the security of the state. Years ago, I was introduced to somebody in church, and we got talking. And one day, I confided in them who I really was. I told them about my Kumekucha blog. I will never forget how their eyes popped out. And they asked me several times, "Are you really Kumekucha?" And I understood immediately what was going on. This person had been able to take a peek at some intelligence reports generated by the intelligence community. And they regularly mentioned Kumekucha. I was deeply humbled. Yeah. But I also felt that they were overreacting. Because I love my country to bits. And I'm very careful about what I do, what I say, and what information I release. Being super careful about possible consequences of the information I release. There are some people who release information for the sake of releasing it, not caring about the consequences. And this happens worldwide. There was a very interesting episode, I believe in the last season, or the last season part 1, of a series called Homeland, about this guy who was releasing information without caring, and sometimes slanting that information to favor his propaganda. And that episode showed the devastating consequences, which also touched on this person. I guess it pays to be older and wiser. Now, during the Kibaki administration, early on, Raila Odinga was right at the top of the list of threats to the security of the state. This is despite the fact that he was in government. And many of us thought that that business had ended with a handshake. But clearly, it has not. The intelligence community is still very worried about the influence and political clout of one Raila Odinga. I believe the idea is to clip his wings and still keep the handshake intact. And there's clear evidence of this in the fact that we are seeing very heavy presence and interest of the boys, if I can call them that, in by-elections right across the country. And they're seeking to influence or to peddle the narrative that kingpins are the last word. They're super powerful. Nobody can go against them. And win an election in their jurisdiction. Now, the thing about perception is that if you're successful and you do a good job, it often leads to reality. Because when voters are convinced that you cannot go against a kingpin in a certain region, they will vote accordingly. Kwa sababu hakuna mtu anataka kupoteza kura yake. Yeah, that's the Kenyan thinking. They don't want to vote for the losing side. The reality in Ukambani is that the influence of Kalonzo Musyoka has been slipping over the last couple of years. Many Kamba voters are getting impatient with Kalonzo Musyoka. That is the truth. Indeed, the only reason he's surviving is that the Kamba nation have not gotten a viable alternative. But now, there is a very deliberate and determined effort to re-establish Kalonzo Musyoka as the main powerhouse and kingpin in Ukambani. And this is reflected in the landslide win, almost 80% of the votes cast, that a rookie, a newcomer to politics, Agnes Kavindu, of course former wife of Johnson Muthama, that landslide win tells us a lot. And especially for those who were on the ground, like my people, during the campaign period, you would never have imagined a landslide win for the Wiper candidate. Listening to what people were saying on the ground. Because we saw some very serious campaigns from the Chama cha Mashinani, CCM, party of Alfred Mutua, the Machakos governor, and from the UDA party, linked to Deputy President William Samoei Ruto. And what was initially expected was a very close race between these three: Wiper, Chama cha Mashinani, and UDA. But at the 11th hour, Alfred Mutua's CCM pulled out and fully supported the Wiper candidate. Many political observers underestimated the significance and impact of that seemingly small move. Actually, it was a colossal political move. Huge. Because what it did is that it completely changed the game so that it became us, locals, versus those trying to invade Ukambani. Now, those who follow these things very closely will know that this CCM decision was taken shortly after a meeting at State House Nairobi with the president. So this was not accidental. This was not Alfred Mutua waking up one morning and deciding to step out of the race. A race where they had already spent huge sums of money campaigning and were serious about wanting to win. And CCM's strategy was very viable, could easily have produced a win, because the whole idea was to have UDA and Wiper splitting votes and thus reducing each other's number of votes. And then Chama cha Mashinani would sneak in with just enough votes to win. Now, I've heard some people saying that the voter turnout was low. Actually, I don't agree. Usually in a by-election, the voter turnout is very low worldwide. Indeed, it usually lingers around the 10 to 15% margin. In Machakos, out of the 623,536 registered voters, 130,617 cast valid votes. That is a whopping 21% in a by-election. That is a very high voter turnout for by-election. And it mirrors the kind of intense political activity that has been unfolding in Machakos County, leading up to this by-election. Now, the question is, will this strategy to clip the wings of Raila Odinga work? Let me just put it this way. It has been tried many times before, and it has failed. Moi tried it, Mwai Kibaki tried it, but in the end, it was not effective. Of course, I'm aware of all those on this channel who believe I'm a Raila Odinga supporter. Yeah, and I can't convince them otherwise. Because if somebody is an effective politician, should I not say it for the sake of not looking like I'm biased? No. I will tell you the undiluted truth. The political reality. I will never shortchange you who come to this channel for the truth. Yeah. By doing things to please others. The truth is, if this was any other politician, this would have been the end of that particular politician. They would have been reduced to a tribal kingpin. But here, we are talking about Raila Odinga, probably the craftiest politician this country has ever seen. Craftier even than Moi, who had a reputation of his own. Yeah, indeed, some people used to call him the professor of politics. But Raila defeated him in 2002 and removed Kanu from power for the first time since independence. There is no way you can rewrite history. There is no way you can skew the facts to fit your fancy. No. Political reality is political reality. Now, before I go, don't forget to take in WIB number 52. Explosive is how I can describe it. If you've liked this video, please remember to give me a like. And if you're yet to subscribe to this channel, I highly recommend that you do so immediately. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.